don't have any, Mr.
I make a motion, we accept the August 27th, 2024 agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The public participation policy, a copy of this is in the back of each agenda, posted outside this meeting room and on our website. The town clerk tax collector's office will be closed on Thursday, September 19th, 2024. The staff will be attending the tax collector's 85th annual fall conference. The office will reopen Monday, September 23rd, 2024. The town clerk tax collector's office will be closed on Tuesday, September 10th, 2024, for the state primary election that will be held at the Prospect Mountain High School from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and will reopen on Wednesday, September 11th, 2024 at noon. Public input, 3 minutes for anything on the agenda. Seeing no one, no appointments this evening,
No, sir.
new business, Friends of Alton Park and Recreation, Jones Field update request. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Jill Hauser, Chair. This is Carol Devaney, who's a committee member of Friends of Parks and Rec. It's a group we've had as a committee of Parks and Rec for over 2 years now, looking at upgrading the existing playground at Jones Field in that area. We've been gathering information from the town at many Old Home Week events, at harvest happenings. At harvest happenings, we've been gathering information for 2 years now on what kids of all ages would like to see at a renovated playground. We've been using Old Home Week events, Market on Main, harvest happenings, just trying to hit the community, surveying folks as best we can, holding up picture charts of, what could be for having even the youngest ones choose them and really trying to get a pretty good feel of what people would like. We're finally organized and got a thumbs up to move ahead to create a 501c3 to raise funds. We feel like we have a pretty good basic plan and we're getting ready to go out into the community. Carol's going to spearhead the fundraising, much to my relief. So that's where we are at this point.
And in order to move ahead with our feasibility study, in the letter that you all received, the main question is, may we utilize Mr. La Rochelle's and Mr. Morse's names on our cover letter that would go out to the folks who we plan on interviewing. And then there's some additional information there about what our plans are. If you have any questions, we'd be glad to answer them.
Okay,
Are,
go ahead.
parks currently subject to any state inspections for meeting the various codes?
We had, is it Primark or?
Well,
and
Primax.
Primax come and do a tour. So that's the amount of my extent, like we had that checked and they did point out some things we should address. The fact the fence along the river has been extended there upon their recommendation. So.
Yeah, we mentioned that within the mini executive summary. So we did a lot of research to make sure we were including some as accurate information as we could about this. And again, this feasibility study really is a, can we do this? And if so, how do we do this? So this is really our first step.
Okay. What are some of your ideas on your fundraising attempts and what you're planning on doing?
Well, that will come from the report that we put together after the feasibility study is done. Generally, anyone who is involved in not-for-profit fundraising in an organization that's been around for quite a while will have developed a fundraising plan. We can't develop that yet until we find out what the responses are to this, where we might feel the greatest number of contributions may come from. And then we will develop a plan that will obviously involve individuals, foundations, corporations, businesses, possibly state funding, but we won't know that until we get feedback from our community.
Okay, so you're going to do some sort of a survey
Yeah.
first, that's going to go out to all the citizens as to what they would like to see at Jones Field.
Well, there
Not
are,
only what needs to be done as far as Primex is concerned, but as far as what people would be interested in seeing.
There will be questions which I've kind of kept private. And when we do this mailing, they are not included in the mailing to the initial select folks who we will interview from town. Following that, or at the same time, we'll also do a community-wide survey, just like what was done when the master plan was conducted.
Mhm.
So the initial effort is to ask questions that will give us a sense of whether or not people in the community really have buy-in to this project. Was this the right one to select? And get their feedback as to whether or not they might be inclined to support the project, whether they see if there are possibilities for conflicts, what else is happening in the community as far as fundraising, things like that. So that's pretty much the essence of what this stage one is.
Oh, I do think it's a good idea. I
Mhm.
think some of the things at the Jones Field has already been started.
Mhm.
And removing the batting cages and doing some of the other volunteer work that's been started over there that's been done.
We have
Um,
collaborated with them briefly as
Mhm.
part of this.
That's what I was gonna ask. Are you gonna collaborate further with them or is this gonna be separate?
We're collaborating with Parks and Rec as well as Alton Youth League.
Okay,
Pretty close communication because obviously within that area, we need to make sure that everything is fitting together and meshing
Mm.
well to serve the
no
community.
overlaps of.
That's
of
correct. Yeah, no,
people
who's
doing
gonna
things.
pay for what? Who's gonna,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Have we had occasion or to do this type of activity related to the park before for raising funds for anything?
Kelly? I don't know.
We're relatively new.
I came into this
to the
process in
Get the
March of
experts.
this year. so-
Oh, I'm sorry. I just asked if we had had occasion in the past to do something like this to raise funds for any activities with the park. Not in the past. Okay, thank you.
So, an initial foray.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
It's certainly, I'm sure everybody would agree it's a worthwhile project and
I-
I think everybody, at least my feeling when I looked at it is, boy, that's a big mountain to climb. I hope you get to the top.
It's great efforts and it definitely should be done, needs to be done. And it'd be good to get the input from the town's people as to what they'd like to see. I think that's good. I have no issue with my name being on that. And
Okay.
anything we can do to help, I have no issues with that at all.
Okay, terrific.
Appreciate that.
Then I'll get those.
One
mailing out.
selection, a suggestion, if I could,
Sure.
related to the names.
Mhm.
I think if you identify Andy as the Board of Selectmen member,
Representative.
who's the liaison, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Representative, yeah.
Yeah.
That
that's
is
okay.
mentioned.
Oh, okay.
That
good.
is in there, yes.
And we did want to make sure that at least we thought having your representative names on here would give anyone that we interview or the townspeople, will give us more credibility that you did approve it and you support the project and what's happening.
No, I think I think
Good
it's a
idea.
well worthwhile project and I think I think it's gonna work out well. I think you'll get a big response.
It's a process. We
Mhm.
know
Oh,
that.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Mhm.
Growing into it. Are there any other questions we can answer?
No,
I
I
think
think,
I'm
I think,
all set.
I think you've done an amazing job so far. Just getting this organized to even this stage is well
Yeah.
done.
And I have to give kudos too, as I mentioned, I just came on board in March. There were other members who are not here that did a lot of the background research of playgrounds and
Yeah, Joanna
including Jill.
Spencer and Kelly Sumter come to mind as folks who have been actively involved, Kelly Sullivan as well. And of course, Kelly T has been kind of our guiding.
And then the discussions from there kind of led to us taking this next step. So it's just keep going.
Excellent.
And I see how you, also how you spelled out the project expenses and what you were
They're just-
aiming for.
Yeah, they're just proposed right now.
Proposed right
estimated.
now.
Things could change in the future,
Sure.
but
No, I think it's a step in the right direction and
Great, terrific.
kudos to you both and everybody that's involved.
well, thank you very
That's-
much.
Good
That's
luck.
good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Old business, fire department ambulance equipment update.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the fire chief's going to speak in a second, but I think if you remember last meeting, we had a proposal on ambulance outfitting equipment, and there was some question about refurb versus new and warranties, and the chief had some contrary information that he received versus the conversation last time that he wanted to clarify.
Okay.
Correct. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I was able to clarify, so on a refurb unit for the monitor, the cardiac monitor, it is a 6-month warranty.
Yes.
If you purchase a brand new one, it's only a year. When I say a year, it's a 12-month warranty. They offer extended warranties either on a year or a 5-year package deal. So if you were to go with the refurb unit and get an extended warranty, it's $1,800 a year or $7,500 for the 5 years. So you save $300 a year basically on an extended warranty. Previously, my prior position down the road, we purchased refurb units in 2017. Still in service that I know of as of when I left in March, so with no issues. Just a little bit of information that I've had success utilizing a refurbed Zoll monitor unit. Again, whatever the purview of the board is to direction.
No, I think it's fine. I know the board and myself had concerns with refurb, equipment. But if your background and you've checked the backgrounds of a lot of the equipment that has been refurbished and there doesn't seem to be issues. And if you're comfortable with that, I think I'm comfortable with that
I'll
as
go with your
well.
recommendation.
I'm going by your recommendation for sure.
Perfect.
So are we leaning toward purchasing the additional 5-year coverage at the 7,500, or are we gonna stick with what comes with it, which is 6 months?
Which is 6 months.
6 months.
Stick with the 6 month.
Yep.
If I may ask a
Yes.
question just for peace of mind for the chief to share with the board. In your experience, if you had a refurb unit that had malfunctions or problems, is the company good as far as servicing it out and just paying directly for the service on a refurb? Have you experienced that yet, where something's broke down? Because I guess what I'm trying to compare for the board is if we're gonna pay $1,800 for a year, what's a typical service fee for a unit if it goes down?
So depending on, say the printer goes, it's probably gonna be $1,000 on to get the printer done, but it's say a main piece of the electronic component, you could see several $1,000s, $2,000 to $3,000, say the main, I don't know what the term is, the board or inside that component. You're probably looking at a couple, $2,000, $3,000 fix on that one component. So just had to replace the screen on one of our current units and it was around $500 to replace the screen on the current unit that's in service, and I'm pretty sure they were purchased in around 2019, I believe. So 5, 6
That's
years right
within-
now before anything.
Within the 5 years.
So
Significant
so that was
cost.
out of warranty.
Correct.
That was
It was
already,
at a
that was
warranty.
already.
I had to pay it up front. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it sounds like you could pay for 2 or 3 fairly major repairs for the cost of the extended warranty.
You could. And it's one of those roll the dice that you may
Mhm.
never utilize, just like health insurance.
Oh, yeah, just like
Have to
any
utilize
insurance
it.
works. Yeah, it's a roll of the dice.
So
What would be the wish of the board?
I'm
How
all,
would you feel?
I'm all set with the 6.
6 months?
Too.
Roll the
I'm
dice.
fine with the 6 months, but how does everyone else feel?
My gut tells me to go for the insurance.
All right, do we want to take a vote on this? Or general consensus?
That's.
They approved, you guys approved the purchase
Mhm.
with the condition of
Of-
finding
of
out
the
the
re-
warranty information, so I think we might as well
We can put it to a vote. If everyone, anyone in favor of having the 6-month warranty on their refurbished equipment
Just the straight 6 month.
for the straight 6 month,
Aye.
Aye.
okay, any opposed?
I'm opposed.
I'm a chicken, so.
Locked. Oh, I second it.
Okay. Second.
Nick seconded.
So
You
it's,
guys voted.
I did vote. I said yes.
Oh, you said
I
yes.
said
okay.
yes. So
Sorry.
it's 3-2 vote, 6 months. Would be the answer. on that.
okay.
All right,
Well, thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, chief.
Thanks, chief.
Emergency Operations Plan 2024 adoption approval.
Mr. Chairman, and members of the board, if you remember last meeting, we spoke about the 2024 revised emergency operations plan.
Mhm.
We did go out through a emergency performance grant through the state and had both our hazardous mitigation plan and emergency operation plans updated per FEMA regulations. Our EOP is the last one to finish and adopt. The draft has been posted on the website, has been circulated. We have made corrections based on members of the employees and civilian participants. We had a series of, I believe it was 6, 7 total meetings to revamp this plan with the contractor MAPS. They are the contracting company that we've used for the past few updates since 17. So all those changes have been made. We are at the point where we do need to adopt the plan at this point now that it's been revised. These documents that you have, I have the official documents here, but they do need to be assigned by each board member. And then the emergency management director, deputy emergency management directors, I will get those signatures afterwards, but we do have to adopt. The deadline is August 31st. But I did just want to reiterate, like we discussed last time, this is a working document, our plan. Just because we adopt it now, there is a process for revisions and changes, even if we encounter a situation and it didn't quite go the way that we had hoped it was going to go in conjunction with our plan. Those are the times to really revise those and better be prepared for future situations. So just by adopting it doesn't make it stone. It's a living document.
It's a
So
living
we will-
document. It can be adjusted.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it was some very riveting reading.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we adopt
I'll
the,
second that.
Emergency Operations Plan of 2024.
You, second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And gentlemen, I have
Thank you.
2 documents. I am going to forward them down to you if you don't mind, just because,
Mhm.
or if we miss the deadline, we lose our grant. So I have to make sure they get signed today.
Okay. Okay, so just pass these. Both of them have to be signed?
Yes.
Please bear with us for just a second.
Either that, I might have to chase one of you down at work tomorrow.
That was so on key.
What'd she say?
She's a G.
Oh, geez.
That was on point.
Thanks, Kelly.
Well, send our mayor's letters.
What? Same here.
Your name's
I have trouble with signatures anyway.
You want something to do that for you?
Where's our stamp?
Where's that?
Just give us a second and we'll move on to
Vision is for
the next item on
50
whole
people
business.
to stay in high school.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I think that's something that would.
Gotta get this done. You gotta get this done.
Kind of build in.
Wasn't worth it. We were finished.
That was,
Yeah.
that was a lot of pages. Lots of pages.
Yes.
We've been doing both of those planned over the last.
Mhm. Mhm.
It was a long time.
How are we doing?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna wait another minute and.
Just one more thing.
Just one more thing.
No, I have the papers on here.
No. No, wait a minute. I guess not.
Okay,
There it is.
okay, good. Drew. Okay, we can go into the old business number 3. What some people have been waiting for, swap shop site visit discussion. And Richard, we can open this up with you if you'd like.
And if I wouldn't like, we can open it with me anyhow.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Correct.
I didn't hear what you said.
We have had a number of discussions regarding the swap shop. And I think it's generally safe to say that we've given a lot of consideration to a number of concerns. We think we have most of them either addressed or an open path to address them. One of the proposals that came forth that I had not initially given any consideration at all to was, rather than locating the swap shop at the recycling center where it had been in the past, we consider locating it at the senior center. And my initial reaction to that was, well, people associate swap shop with recycling and with the recycling center. It's a secure area. We have professional staff on hand if necessary for any issue. We identified a space, a location that appears to be workable. And it was hard to come up with anything particularly negative other than the cost. And the cost for the transfer station location would be affected by the amount of site work and preparation we'd have to do, and the cost of bringing power to the swap shop if we elected to do that, which is certainly desirable. And then we went on and we visited the senior center, and
Elaborate on that if you'd like.
we can probably, do you want to discuss the senior center? Do you
Well,
want me to keep
I
it?
just, first of all, I'd like to say, I think you have done an excellent job of your research and looking through very carefully, and Drew as well. The two of you going through and checking everything out to make it work or to try to make it work at the transfer station. Through all this, I've thought a lot about it, and I've looked at it, and I've talked to numerous people, plus staffing, plus department heads. And after looking at it and reviewing the swap shop itself in reference to where the transfer station is, yes, there was a lot of safety measures, putting up a fence. We'd have to put in fencing, we'd have to grade, we'd have to bring in a building, which we'd have to on either site. Electricity, security cameras. But there's still a condition, and something that a lot of us haven't thought about. And I thought about it into some depth. Restrooms. We have one porta potty. We have one porta potty, exterior porta potty, and we have one small bathroom at the opposite end of the parking lot at the main entrance where you come in. So anybody that's working in the swap shop, they have to come out of the safety area of the swap shop with the fencing areas and walk across parking lot to go to any one of these facilities. And not to mention, that's a safety issue. You're still using volunteers with staffing getting rid of the material when things are not accepted. After walking through all that, I asked if the board would come over and look at and consider the senior center. After looking at it, there's a lot of room there, a lot more room than a lot of the members here thought there was there. That's a very large parking lot. Can still have a building on that, a 10 by 20 building in the parking lot, setback. It's very close to the facility itself for the senior center, where there's a back door that goes right into his and hers restrooms, handicapped accessible, wheelchair accessible. Very close to run any electricity or cameras. Everything can be set up right there without putting in a lot of extra money. And a security camera can be put there, a dumpster can be put there, they can be locked. They can be taken care of, and it would be fully run by volunteers. No personnel of the town would be needed. There'd be a full volunteer setup, full volunteer run. And that way there, if there's, the people that come in could have stickers on their vehicles to prove that they're an Alton citizen. And they would come in, and that way there, those things could be accepted or not accepted. They would go right from there to the transfer station and throw them away. It seems to be a more of a social. We could have a tent set up, can have picnic tables, and people can socialize, meet there. We could have clothes bins there, and it's out of the way of the transfer station and in a safer place, in my opinion.
I think it's reasonable to say that either location would work. And there certainly is an attraction to reducing the cost with the senior center location. I worry a little bit about people associating recycling of goods with the transfer station and not necessarily associating it with a trip to the senior center, but some degree of publicity would probably help with that, along with maybe some signage at the transfer station. I also was of the opinion, as far as funding is concerned, that work done at the transfer station could be funded by the existing transfer station capital account, whereas work done at the senior center would have to have some other funding source, which I haven't explored, and perhaps there's a good one. Most people that I have talked to gave no consideration to any other location, and so I'm kind of lacking for input as far as guidance from the public in that regard. But generally, I am very encouraged insofar as it sounds like overall the town wants a swap shop. The board would like to see a swap shop. And of course, it comes down to the where and how do we pay for it.
Exactly.
The other benefit to the senior center is also the hours. They can set their own hours instead of being limited to the hours at the transfer. But instead of being limited to the hours at the transfer station, you would be able to have whatever hours you wanted to run it. It wouldn't have to be limited to a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday type situation. You could do it during the week, on the weekends.
Again, it's a thought of safety concern. We've had issues in the past at the transfer station. We all know this. We've had times where volunteers couldn't make it. There's times that the staff had to fill in and do things for the transfer station. Things were dropped off and had to be thrown away and taken care of. This happened quite often, where the staff had to get rid of some of the things. If this was done in a different way, in a different location, the people that are the volunteers would have a dumpster there. There would be a dumpster if something that was there for 2 or 3 days and wasn't accepted, that could be thrown away. And then not accept things that are electrical items or anything like that that can be a problem. Because Primex was concerned with accepting anything that has electric power cords or anything like that, because then that puts the liability on to the town if somebody picks up something, a toaster, and it burns or something like that. So we shouldn't even be accepting those things. What is accepted goes into the storage facility of the building, the building that's purchased, whether it be the 10 by 20. And if it isn't, it goes in the dumpster. The dumpster is picked up once a week. You can have a 2-yard dumpster for $4 a month or a 4-yard dumpster for $225 a month. This is one of the costs that we still have to look into and where that would come from.
I guess the biggest thing would be the amount of
During-
money it's gonna take to do it at the
Transfer.
transfer station than it is to be at the senior center. I
Mhm.
mean, it's probably a third of the cost, I would think, or pretty close to it,
Yeah.
to do it at the senior center, to get it off the ground faster.
Mhm.
If not, it's not even nearer in our budget to do it this year, maybe not even next year. That's another
And a
thought.
possibility of still going to warrant article.
Correct.
It's amazing because we have a few people that really show interest in doing it, but that's not the whole town. And I'm always an advocate to put out to the people to ask if the people want it or they don't want it. Do they want to spend the extra money? Or if this other new location might be a alternative answer to being less cost effective, more cost effective, I should say, and being totally run by volunteers. With one person in charge, a volunteer person in charge would be in charge of having a key to the facility to be able to allow people to that are working to be able to use the restrooms. There's again, running water. There's toilets for his and hers facilities. It's a much cleaner and safer environment altogether. Of course, that's my opinion.
Anything else?
Yeah, there's one other issue that, and I don't know if this would apply to us. Again, in a couple of the other towns that I visited, one of their policies was if you are bringing to the swap shop an item which you would have to pay to dispose of,
Mhm.
you have to pay pay that fee even when you give it to the swap shop, so that if they can't get rid of it, then the town is covered for the cost. But I don't know how many items, if any, that would apply to. It would not be feasible for us to have volunteers collecting disposal fees if we needed to do that.
I don't think we should do that. I don't think
I don't
that's
know.
something we should probably do is accept items that you would have to, I mean, I'm trying to remember the stuff at the transfer station we have to pay to get rid of, like construction debris.
Construction debris mostly.
Talking like pieces of furniture.
Yeah,
things
he's
like
talking
that,
about
large
furniture.
Yeah,
pieces of
sofa, furniture,
Yeah.
stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
Everything we couldn't
Yeah,
accept at the
yeah.
swap shop anyway. Mhm.
The stuff that we can't accept anyway.
In other words, if you're bringing a sofa that you think is good, and it is good, you pay for it.
Mhm.
Swap stop. Because that way it's not picked up, say, within 3 weeks or something like it's gone.
Mhm.
But if you're
Yeah.
saying.
Right.
Whereas at the senior center, that's not feasible. You could not bring.
We can't have that, we can't get them on the video, because they're not speaking into a microphone.
We gotta, we
No,
have to wait till
we-
it's public.
We really can't be talking to you right now because it's not open to public. This
It
is.
will be
the
soon.
select- We will very
will.
shortly.
It-
Okay,
When you don't speak with a microphone.
can't hear you.
It doesn't record for the video. That's the main reason.
One of the issues that Kelly was nice enough to do a detailed sheet here of pros and cons.
Mhm. I was just looking at it.
And I'm just searching for input here because I never paid much attention to it, but she expressed the concern about traffic. I don't know if we get the kind of volume in a swap shop that would create an issue out on the road, on Wolfboro Road. Perhaps we would. And I don't know if other people that were here when we had the other swap shop recall whether there was a high traffic volume or not.
There were times on a weekend, you would see a high volume of traffic coming in, but a lot of times it was the people at the same time that would bring in an object or bring in something in as they were going to throw things away. So sometimes it would get backed up. This would be separate where they could go, if they could come to the swap shop at the senior center. If it's something that accepted, they drop it off, they leave, they're done. If they just stop in, it's not accepted, they're on their way to the dump, they go right to the dump, to the transfer station and they throw it away. The parking lot, as far as I'm concerned, is not an issue because it's extremely large parking lot. For anyone that's having any functions, like if it's the Rotary Club or any of the other clubs, there's ample enough parking on the opposite side of the building, and in front of the building has handicap parking. There's plenty of that there. Where we're thinking of the location for the swap shop would be to the far right and at the end of the inside of the parking lot, which where people could come in, circle and go back out. Still ample enough parking. And not having staff means our people that are working at the transfer station won't get pulled away from what they're doing and their workstation and what they're doing, where if it's a situation where it's all volunteers, they're responsible for taking care of throwing things in the dumpster, securing things into storage facility at night, locking and taking care of it. This is completely volunteer, which is much more cost effective.
I believe that the idea, when the location was proposed to be at the transfer station it was the same idea. It's entirely run by volunteers. If
Mhm.
they don't show, it's not open. And obviously there's a huge benefit to having the transfer station at the same location.
Mhm.
But I understand, and I apologize that I didn't make the walkthrough earlier,
Okay,
but
we did wait for you.
Thank you. Either location requires the purchase of some sort of a storage building or something. I'm not sure that power truly is required at the transfer station. Lighting inside can be done with inexpensive solar lights inside the shed. So I think they can tough that out. Porta potty, the cost to run a porta potty down there is $150 a month.
It's probably the same as the dumpster.
Yeah,
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 same
maybe even
thing.
less than a
Yeah.
dumpster with the tip.
They would have to be added one, so they wouldn't have to be coming out of the safety area.
No.
There would have to be an added restroom, porta potty in that area, so they wouldn't be coming out, walking across the parking lot to go to the restroom.
Right, right. And yeah, there's definitely site work that needs to be done in order to keep the traffic away from the rest of the operations of the facility.
I think your drawing and the way you depicted the fencing and everything made sense.
Yeah.
But again, it's a cost factor, putting in a chain link fence around it. That is also the area for hazardous waste when that is in function, which would be in front of that fence.
Well, hazardous waste day could be, could take precedence over swap shop day. So I'm not sure that that's a huge issue. I'm just, and again, I apologize that I wasn't at the walkthrough because maybe I would have a different mindset. But I'm a huge proponent of this being at the transfer station. I think it's the logical place. And I think that there's ways that we can do this in stages and even do a test run. Maybe do a test run up at the senior center as well. See how it works.
But how do we do a test run with no facility to utilize where to put everything?
I don't know. Find somebody with a box truck that can park up there for a week.
I just think the ability to be able to get it started as quickly as the people of the town wanted to do it. I mean, as far as cost effective goes, it's a no-brainer for the senior center, just because everything is already there. The parking lot's paved, it's already striped. All we have to do is run the electrical from the building into
Yeah,
the
you don't
old
even do that.
building. The cameras, I mean, it would be all Wi-Fi set up, what's already there now. It would
If
just be
you-
adding to the existing ones. Go ahead.
And no, I agree with you. And if we were to do a test run, I think that would be the facility to do it at.
Yeah.
To do it there first before spending the money at the transfer station, grading, fencing. If we were to purchase a 10 by 20, it can always be moved from the senior center back over to the transfer station.
Yeah.
If it
No,
doesn't
that's a
work out.
great point. Excellent point.
And we could always move it. You could always set it up there, do a test run, let it run for a month. If it doesn't work out, bring it to the other facility, and then before it's brought there, the grading could be done, the fencing could be done, the electrical and everything could be brought over, then just move the building over there. If it doesn't work out. To be more cost effective, if we want to just try it out, if we purchase the building, to set it over there, to put proper signage, cones, and try it there with a dumpster there and try it there for a month or so and see if it works. If it doesn't work, then it goes the other way. If it's a thought.
Well, it also gives time, I think, to put this before the town and let the people
them
vote.
decide.
How much do you want to spend on this
Right.
feature?
And because the money it's gonna cost to do at the landfill is going to be
We
Not
priced it out
counting,
on the
not,
way
not,
here.
not even counting the shed,
Mhm.
the fencing and the gravel and the thing, you're looking at over 20 grand.
Mhm.
So you're looking at what, almost 10 for the shed?
That was our estimate. Yeah.
Almost, so you're looking at
So it's
30,000.
30 grand.
But for the other one, it's, you're basically setting it up for 10 grand.
For about 10,000 to 11,
For cameras.
11 to put the
Sign.
shed there, a little bit of signage and bring
Camera.
electricity out to it for a light
But
and
even
and a
then-
power outlet. And there's already video cameras there. We extend one to the shed.
Yeah.
It's minimal cost.
Make no mistake, we're trying to figure it out the best place we can, where it's both financially responsible,
Yep.
safety related. We're just trying to take everything into account. It's difficult. It's not easy because you're talking about this is a big key issue that, you know, we want to help you guys. We want to figure out the right way to do it.
And if it doesn't work there, then it goes to the transfer station. If it doesn't work there, then we do without it.
Let me ask another question here. And we discussed this briefly, I think when we were at the senior center, but one of my concerns was there'd be a great temptation, either intentionally or simply for convenience, for people to swing by at the old senior center and drop off some stuff for the swap shop, even though nobody was there.
That's what the cameras are for.
And so we said, well, if they do that, we will get them on the camera, we'll warn them, and ultimately we will fine them. I wonder administratively, is that practical?
Yes,
We'd probably be wasting,
I,
we have more money on staff at the dump.
yeah.
So it'd be,
I mean, like I said before, we know at the transfer station, when the volunteers go home and if not everything has been put away and not all the things that were dropped off, if they weren't there, people come in, lean things when nobody's looking, put things there, so the staff has to throw these things away. And they spend a few hours a week taking that stuff out of there and throwing them away. With this having the volunteers strictly taking care of this, if somebody drops something off after hours, we're gonna see it on video. And not only that, you can have the signage that says, this is being surveyed, surveillance camera in progress. And it's right in there, so if they're gonna drop this stuff off, they know they're gonna get picked up. The camera's gonna pick up their license plate.
I just get the feeling everybody is so opposed to
Oh, I do it
the,
too.
hold on, I get the feeling everybody is so opposed to the swap shop being at the senior center because they will not be able to utilize the transfer station employees and their ability to assist. I don't understand what's going on here. The laughter is unnecessary,
I don't
like
think that's
completely.
necessary at all.
Anyway, go ahead, continue on. I'll stay quiet over here. Go ahead.
No,
ahead.
I feel as though we're trying to accommodate you. And we're seeing the same people come in here, no one else. I see the same people coming in. So, I'm not gonna go into it yet until we go open it to, public input. At this time, what would the board like to do at this time? Would we like to discuss where the monies would come from for the shed itself?
I have no clue where it comes
Yeah.
from, so.
So this is our stalemate at this point, is we are at a default budget. We are working on all our departments to try to make through this whole year, trying to make the departments work, keeping costs down, making sure payroll is taken care of, making sure everybody's all set. And there isn't a lot of extra monies floating around to fund some of these other programs. So that's something that we would have to still consider where these funds would come from.
Well, I think we're at a situation here where we've had a fair amount of support expressed by a number of people for a swap shop. I'm not sure anybody gave any consideration to a location other than the recycling center. So I don't know if
Put that out there to the people.
we want to attempt to either request a survey or just public input. There's no question, I think, from a cost point of view, that the senior center is less costly. And there's no question from a cost point of view that we don't have 10 cents to our name this year. But one of the advantages, I think, with a location at the recycling center is, I believe that the money in that revolving fund, if you look at the wording in the original warrant article that was passed, it's for structures and maintenance and so on. So it would be reasonable to use it. And maybe there's something like that in the senior center as well. I just haven't explored it, and I don't know if that's the case.
We have to explore both.
And this doesn't,
Legal. You
this
would have to
doesn't
get
mean.
legal opinion on that,
Yeah.
because if one person challenges
Yeah.
the town, I think.
And this isn't saying that if everything works out to be at the senior center, doesn't mean it stays there forever.
That's right.
That's the
It's-
quickest,
It's an
easiest.
easy spot to take the shed out of there and abandon the whole project at the senior center. It's just an option. It's an option to get it out of and I understand, Drew, you think, and yes, in a lot of cases, it makes sense to have the swap shop where the transfer station is. But again, we've already had issues. And it wasn't a lot of different issues, but we've had issues. It's something that we have to be careful of and take into consideration with liability.
Let me ask, and maybe Ryan has some idea on this, if do we have any source of funding immediately available for a senior center location? I'm
No,
not
there's
aware of
no,
one, but
the
that
only,
doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
the only funding that is available that you're mentioning is, there's two things. There's a recycling revolving fund. But then there is the transfer fund you're talking about as a capital reserve. It's not a revolving. Revolving is only specific, there's specific language. So every time one of these funds is established, the establishing language dictates what it can be used for. The only issue with that, like I said, is yes, there are some that are up to interpretation, but I would, if there's a question about it, usually we will seek legal opinion on whether or not the wording would stretch that. The wording, and we pulled that when you researched
Yeah,
that, we pulled
that
it.
was very helpful.
It's specific to the transfer station buildings and stuff. Would a shed, an auxiliary shed utilized for a volunteer program qualify to that? I have no idea, to be honest with you. I would say, all I would recommend is the board gets an legal opinion and follows that, because the other thing is one, there's checks and balances with the trustees of the trust fund. They have to take a vote that it qualifies. And if it is challenged, I mean, obviously that's an extreme case, but if it's challenged by somebody out in the public or whatnot, the town could be forced to try to justify under the language, because the reason the law states that we have to provide a parameter use when a fund is established is that it's used so that when the taxpayers are voting to put money into it every year, they know that it's going to be used for that arena. If they feel that it's outside of that, it's just, basically municipal funding or accountability, let's put it that way. So there's the transfer station capital reserve, and then recycling. I don't know that you would consider the the swap shop a recycling. I mean, I get that it's passing on used items to others that might be able to utilize them. I don't know if it would.
Actually, it's the purest form of recycling.
Yes.
There's no hauling, no
But in the sense
processing,
that the
no-
revolving fund takes money back in from money, we're not making any money. It's just from those sort of recycling. That's the idea behind the revolving account, is that it brings money back in.
The only other way is, I've seen it before in other towns, in other states. It is privatized, and they open up a place and they have people drop off and they donate all their things. If they don't want them, it's like the swap shop. They come in, they bring them and they put them on display and they sell them. And I've seen a lot of these places, and that's what they do in a lot of other places. Again, I see you shaking your head, and I see a closed mind. and I don't see openings. So I just see, I'm trying to, we're trying,
Ryan.
we're trying to, let's
what
keep
you're saying.
order. All I'm saying is I'd like to see people go down to to the senior center and go down there and take a look at, just have an open mind, take a look at it, see what the size of the parking lot, see where it is in reference to where a little building would be, and go down there. And I've seen a lot of social media talking about the facility and frustration with the selectmen, but we can only do so much with the current budget we have. So at this point, do we want to have the people decide, do we want to go for a warrant article and go in that direction? Or do we want to make a decision here tonight to try to put a temporary setup there? What would the board like to do at this point?
Is there, does anyone know of any available senior center funding that could be used? I don't, but maybe there is.
I don't think so.
I'm not aware of anything. I think it's specific to the senior center building and repairs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we decide anything, we gotta figure out what,
Oh,
Yeah.
we gotta figure out where we come from.
Yeah.
To purchase a building, that's the number one thing.
yeah, that's the biggest thing.
Is to purchase the building and putting the building up, whether we put in either facility.
Right.
The other issue I still think there is does everybody in town want it? And that's why I suggested a warrant article. Does everybody in town want it? Some people will open up to public input in a minute.
I think, and I could be 100% wrong, wouldn't be the first time, but I think for two things having to do with the warrant article. One is, if we were to treat it like most of the warrant articles that we have been processing
Mhm.
for $20,000 or less, it would just be grouped with a bunch of others, and would probably pass. I also think you could offer a warrant article that we sometimes do, treating items that are a one-time expense as something that comes out of our non-discretionary or capital funds. What do they call them? Here's a special name. for them.
Unassigned fund balance.
Right, undesignated fund balance, thank you. And I think our undesignated fund balance is getting up close to the maximum that the state recommends. So you could offer a warrant article for an amount with no impact on taxation because the cost would be taken out of the undesignated fund balance. Or you could offer a full-blown individual warrant article standing on its own with the full tax impact cost spelled out.
Just for clarification on one comment you made, the legalities behind grouping those together, because last year was the first year we did that. I had to seek DRA and legal advice on whether or not how that can work. A warrant article for the first time being introduced can't be lumped in. It has to be previously approved.
Okay, yeah, I remember
So
that.
the
You're
ones
right.
that were lumped in are routine ones that we do, just like
Makes sense.
Every year
if one of the
type thing.
nonprofits, a new nonprofit surfaces, they can't be lumped together either.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. Good
Okay.
point.
In my opinion, at this point, the way I'm seeing how this is going, that we need to go to a warrant. To see if the people even want to go that route, one way or another. And whatever anybody else's opinion is. I don't know what to do any further than this, other than, what we can afford to do and what we can't afford to do. Do we put it in a warrant article for this year? Is this what the people would like? Either facility to have a swap shop or not? And what it would cost in either facility?
Well, I would like to hear from the public. I don't want to close the door on maybe doing a vote.
Mhm.
Although I don't know if we can do a vote where we don't know where the money is going to come from.
Well, we could table it.
Or we could table
We
it
could table it
and
until we get some more feedback.
perhaps that's the best bet.
That's the best bet.
We can table it right now and just wait for more feedback. And I just urge people to go to both sites, look at them, study them, and look at the possibilities of either one.
If you want, if the board wants, in the meantime, I can send over the language for the capital reserve to
Yes.
legal. And have legal
Have legal look
give
into
us an
it.
opinion on it.
Okay,
And then
That would help.
at least that's an answer to one of the questions as far as.
okay. Is everybody okay with tabling this till, the next meeting? And see if would that give us enough time for legal counsel?
Yeah, I should have a response back.
Okay. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, I wonder if it's not too much difficulty, if we might want to post some kind of a plot plan or a sign at the senior center so that members of the public who actually want to undertake a visit will see where the proposed site might be and see for themselves the amount of parking and space that's available.
It's deceiving how much room there really is there. The whole area off to the right of the parking lot facing the building is, every time I've ever gone by, it's never used. People are just parking in front or on the left. So. Anyway, is everybody in agreement to table this till next meeting?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yep, I'm okay with that.
Okay. All right, we'll table this to the next meeting. And if we can, if we can put some sort of signage. I don't know if we could do that, if we could make a sign. that
How
should-
about we put up some grade stakes with some tape around it to the location? I don't really have a site plan to put up there or anything like that.
We could put cones. We could put 4 cones in the area where we were thinking about setting it so people could pull in the parking lot and see where it is.
Yeah, we can do that. Do something like that.
Okay. Okay.
I'm on vacation. I apologize, but I'm on vacation until next week, so.
Oh, okay.
After this meeting, but maybe Kelly can help assist with that.
If we
if
could,
you don't
if we
mind.
could just set some cones where that would be 10 by 20, where we discussed. And maybe an area of where the dumpster would be. And which we discussed to the right-hand side. And at least the people would get a generalized idea where it would be. Okay,
Thank you. I
thank you very
apologize.
much. Selectmen reports. Drew,
Unfortunately, the Budget Committee meeting last night was canceled due to the lack of quorum. So next
Okay.
meeting is scheduled for the 16th.
okay,
I'm like,
Richard?
Yeah, just thinking about the budget committee situation, since they actually, I think legally have to develop the budget. We all need to do anything we can to find some dedicated and interested citizens to step forward, because I think right now we're at a minimum. So if somebody so much as sneezes, we're cooked. Not a good situation.
not at all.
I have an update.
As far as on a lighter note, the milfoil committee is ripping right along. All of the milfoil work has been completed for this year. We have another meeting tomorrow, but I expect it's going to be very minimal because I don't think there's much of anything that we need to concern ourselves with, although I could be surprised. Our hazardous waste group, thanks to Ryan's efforts on our behalf with the town of Wolfboro, are much closer now to putting in the new roof deck and shelter that we need at the Wolfboro Recycling Center. So we have hopes of seeing that actually done. And I also wanted to mention, because I had the opportunity to go attend the training for our new voting machine. And it is just going to make things so much more foolproof and so much easier for the moderator and the staff. It's a super step forward, and I think everybody's going to be
That's
delighted
great.
with it.
It's needed.
You shall too.
Okay,
I have nothing yet. Everything's been getting canceled, switching dates. So hopefully I have something next meeting.
Nothing new.
Nothing, and I don't have anything. We meet next week for the ZBA. Administrator reports.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just first of all, I do want to give you an update on the Budget Committee. We have been making some progress and
good.
just behind the scenes. So unfortunately, we did have to cancel for today, but it was more not because we didn't have the people now. It was just a couple of scheduling conflicts. And it was Stacy is helping me out in trying to coordinate that because we were unfortunate in the situation where the chair and vice chair both left last year at the end. So there's no structure other than just members. So we're in the position of trying to organize things and schedule the meeting. So it was sort of just poor timing because people were booked out. The 16th does look like we're going to have a quorum. I've gotten a lot of confirmation back, and we do have a member, or I should say a volunteer who stepped up after last meeting as well. And is waiting. They have to be voted in by the board. So that was hopefully going to happen last night, but now on the 16th. So we'll have one more member. So currently we have a selectman's rep, a school rep, and we have 3 members now. And then there's one in the wind waiting to be sworn in and voted in. So we did make some progress since then. So I wanted to let everybody know because that discussion we had last meeting did prove to be fruitful and hoping to get things together. So
Good.
So the other thing I have is an update for you. Last meeting, it was brought up, I believe Dick had mentioned, and the board was in agreement that we should see if we could have a representative from the co-op come down and speak to us about power outages and things, then challenges that they've been faced with and what's going for the future. So we were very successful in getting a representative from Plymouth. I did talk preliminary to the local supervisors here about some of the issues. We can talk a lot more in depth. They're actually going to bring a few people down. Right now, we're looking at trying to get that scheduled for our second meeting in September. Turning it around for the 9th was a little quick for them because they want to bring a few of their, line engineers and stuff, or decision makers, I should say, to have the meeting because they really want it to be a collaborative discussion about where we need to go in the future. Just some of the highlights to that is, some of the issues in some of these neighborhoods their lines are way overtaxed between developments. We talk a lot about the town resources when we talk about lake houses. We talk about all the cabins that have been taken down and ripped down and built up with $4 or $5 million houses. Well, one of the things that have gone along with that, and some of us may or may not have realized it, but at some of these larger houses, we've gone from 60 or 100 amp services on cottages to they have houses now that are coming in with 400 and 600 amp services to basically a commercial load onto a residential system. And they have areas, and one of them is, I believe, Trasside was mentioned. I got confirmation locally that they've already designed a serious upgrade in that whole area because of the overdevelopment. The lines just are taxed. They're not carrying enough voltage. Echo Point is another one that is on their agenda, but there was much more that, obviously they were very happy about the invitation to come in and discuss the future and what the future might look like. And also elaborate a little bit more on the fact that some of the power outage, like this last power outage where the board got some communication from a resident, actually wasn't at the co-op at all. It was their service provider from Eversource coming in from the other end. Eversource went down, but in turn it severed the feed coming in from that side of town to the co-op. So they were sort of, and that was a storm related issue. Tree came down and sheared off 3 different poles, they said, at the top. So, but I won't waste your time anymore with trying to give you a summary of it, but we are looking to schedule that, hopefully the second meeting in September.
Thank you.
One of the other things is, there was an email that was on the table for you, and that was an invitation to the ribbon cutting ceremony for Mount Major. They will be doing a ribbon cutting ceremony on September 12th at 11 a.m. And invitations went out to myself and Stacy and the board as well, to attend if available. So I wanted to make sure that invitation got out to you folks and, you know, who can make it, great. Who can't, I understand. There will be town representation there no matter what. I will plan on being there as well.
And you're hiking, right?
Yes.
All right.
There is a hike planned at 1:30 as well for the new trail and the new renovations that have been done. The other thing I need clarification on is a while back, we spoke and there was a little bit of concern about some of the holidays that came up and they overlapped so that we ended up with 2-day work days versus work weeks versus 3.
Yes.
One in particular was Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's coming. So the consensus of the board at the time, and again, it was my fault, I think at that point that we just left it at a consensus and I didn't change the policy because the policy actually reads the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Typically, when we had talked about it, we were going to move that holiday to the following Monday so that we didn't have one extremely short week. That way that the
Right.
services stayed open for the residents on the 2 separate weeks. But I do need a vote versus a consensus if I'm gonna formally change the policy. And that's why I had to bring it back up tonight.
Right.
We're getting closer to, believe it or not, we're getting closer to November. And the questions have been, were brought in from some of the employees what we were doing. And I realized that I didn't have a vote from the board. So I wanted to see if I could clarify that.
Okay.
How much business do we actually see on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving?
I would say traditionally with a holiday like Thanksgiving, I mean, most people are in that routine because every place observes the Wednesday before and Thursday. So I wouldn't say we do a tremendous amount of business. Really what it comes down to sometimes is that we, you know, for people that aren't aware, I mean, they should be now, it's been over a year now, about the office hours, but they just don't realize when the holidays mix in, sometimes we have those extended close hours and, you know, we get a few complaints or whatnot, but as far as the amount, the volume, it's less than on average, let's put it that way. Because most people are gearing up for the holiday at that point and they're not coming in on the day before or the day after. So,
Yeah, they got more important things to worry about than registering their vehicles and get that turkey thawed.
That's right.
I mean, so it could to your point, could very well be a double-edged sword. Where maybe not as many people are looking to do something the day before a holiday, but they sure might be looking for the following Monday to get business done. So it could be either way, you know, some people.
So the
Should we put
suggestion
up on
is to go from that Wednesday, work that Wednesday and take the following Monday off.
Yes, that's what we discussed.
And that's what we discussed. and
Before
that's-
splitting that
okay.
up.
right.
But you know, it's whatever the
I'll
board
make a motion.
prefers.
I'll make a motion to adopt so that we don't have that case where we have only 2 work days in the week during a holiday like Thanksgiving and moving the Wednesday before Thanksgiving so that the office is open and closed on that following Monday. I don't know if we have a second.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I don't think I think that what you pointed out, Ryan, is accurate. I think that there'll be little to no business conducted on the day before that holiday, and that the following Monday is really going to be the busy day.
I can't remember that I do remember the conversation, but I don't remember that was a while ago we discussed that.
Yeah. And really, what prompted the discussion the first time wasn't even Thanksgiving, it was Veterans Day, because I believe it was Veterans Day that fell
Yes.
on an odd day, and we ended up with a 2-day work.
It was a 2-day work
It-
week and
yeah.
I know
Mhm.
there was a lot of people calling.
Mhm.
There was a lot of phone calls and then having just 2-day work days during that week.
And we did make that change. That change has come into effect because
Okay, so that
wasn't
change has
a
already
pol-
been made.
So Veterans Day or whatnot, this is only specific to Thanksgiving.
To Thanksgiving for Wednesday to be closed then. Is what you're saying is to keep it closed and have Monday open instead. Is what you're
Yes.
saying.
I'm trying
Yeah,
to figure
so-
out, yes, I'm trying to figure
so-
out which
so-
way the
well-
board would want to go, but
And
you
I
know.
said my motion, you
Yeah.
second it, and Drew, you feel as though it should be the other way around.
Correct.
Okay. So let's put it to a vote. I vote that we
All in favor.
all in favor of closing on, staying open on Wednesday and closing Monday. All in. Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
No,
Okay.
Was Dick nay?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
okay, so it's 3 nays,
Yeah.
2
So they
yeas,
stay
so
closed
it stays closed
Wednesday.
on
open
Wednesday and
Monday.
open on
So,
Monday. Okay.
so do we need
That's
to
it.
make a motion for that?
No, because that's
Okay.
the existing policy. So just for clarification, that means with the fail of the motion, the existing policy will remain in effect.
Got it.
Thank you.
and we should, I'm sure we will,
We,
publicize that to the best of our ability.
Absolutely.
I'll explain that this went to a vote and when we get the phone calls of being only open for 2 days.
One of the other things that I need, the board's authorization on is, we spoke about the FEMA refunds, or the FEMA funding coming in from the emergency floods. So we do need to have a public hearing. We're looking to schedule, a public hearing on September 24th. For the acceptance of FEMA funds in the amount, at this time, the total will be $531,303.74. But we do have to have a public hearing to accept those funds because they're unanticipated funds. Is everybody okay with posting and scheduling that public hearing for September 24th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. The other thing, that I want to mention, and I think I mentioned this already, but, so DOT, did come back with some water line costs to relocate that water line after the discussion didn't really include any money or funds that the town would have to come up with on that culvert repair. Roughly $6,800 is they're quoting out through their contractors. I have talked to Courtney, the water superintendent. She says that we can do it a lot cheaper ourselves. We do, however, they are going to make us, so the follow-up to that conversation is I reached back out to DOT, told them that we would be relocating the water line ourselves and not using their contractors. But that there was more discussion. I was a little concerned about the fact that they're using emergency funding, not FEMA funding, but they're utilizing an emergency funding source that is available to the state, but is not available to us. Even though we're part of this, they claimed that the water line was not damaged during the floods, only the culvert. I explained to them that in my extensive experience with FEMA, if the damage in order to repair in kind requires additional services like moving a power line, moving a water line, that is included in the estimated or the cost to repair in kind. State didn't seem to agree with that very much. Right now, where it's left is they gave us some dates and times to come here and meet personally. And they had 4 or 5 different people. I don't know what all their roles are, but they were all on the chain email. So Courtney and I think Thomas is going to be there as well because he was originally part, before Courtney came back full time. He was part of that meeting originally too. So we are going to have a face-to-face. The gentleman who led the presentation, David Smith, I think is the last name. He is the one I'm communicating with. So-
They never mentioned it in their presentation that there was gonna be a cost to the town whatsoever.
No, when I mentioned it in my email communication, I said that there was never any mention of a cost or estimate or any money during the presentation. His response, in the group text with all the other people from DOT, was, we have maintained since we did our presentation that we will work closely with the Alton Water Department to relocate the water line. That was the response. So that was all but an acknowledgement. There was no talk about funding. There was no talk about money. It was, we're gonna work together. We're gonna make this happen. So.
Have we gone back through the recording?
What's that?
Have we gone back through the recording? of
We
the
haven't gone to the
presentation?
video piece by piece. We did go to the minutes and there was no mention of it. We would have to actually watch the video, and I tried to get Stacy to do it at home, but she was not eager to do that.
I went through the booklet they presented to us.
Yeah, it was,
And the video, I went through that whole booklet.
There's
nothing in
nothing
there
in there.
whatsoever about the water department
Mhm.
or the water line.
Right. And yeah, so this was something that surfaced after the fact and there wasn't any communication directly to the board or during their presentations. They haven't really, in a roundabout way, acknowledged that that was never part of the discussions here. Offline, there's another division. So there's a utilities division of DOT who's having another conversation. Apparently there was some emails that went back and forth with water, but that was separate from the PowerPoint presentation and it was after the PowerPoint presentation. So there was some cross dialogue going on until I got involved. And then I think they all joined together and we all became one chain email, but I felt it was important to update you as to where we are now and where we're going. So as soon as I believe that meeting is going to be after our September 9th meeting. So on the 24th, I'll have another update for you.
So Ryan, can I make a suggestion that prior to that meeting, you request them to bring a copy of their contractor's quote about that water line specifically? And just pay attention to the date that's on that quote?
Sure. Sure.
Make sure it's not post-dated from your conversations.
Okay, so that one's we're all set. And the only other thing tonight, is I do have to, we have to hash out a little bit about, the primary on the 10th. Is to,
Oh, the
we
time.
know about, yeah,
What
rough
times?
times where
be
you
there
guys can
whatever
be
time
available.
you're
No, I canceled my plans for that day, so I will be there at any time.
Be there all day? All day.
I will,
I
I will
can
be
be there
there
anytime.
at 7 o'clock and we can come and go as long as there's 3 selectmen there at one time.
Mm.
I'll
Yeah, whatever works.
say the day.
Mhm.
I can fill in wherever
Okay.
works.
I'll take that day.
I'll also hang out for the day.
Okay.
I'm
Well, then
good
if
for
the
whatever-
majority of you are gonna be there for most of the day, you guys can work it out amongst yourselves. Who's gonna go take a break, go
Yeah,
get lunch?
that's what I'm saying.
Do that.
That's what
I
we did
don't
last
have a
time.
problem with that. I
We
just
we
wanted,
kind of tag team every couple of hours, somebody left and went home for a few
Okay.
minutes and then we just kind of went back.
Yeah,
and
we all
forth.
had our time.
So we always had coverage.
I just wasn't sure if anybody had a conflict that was gonna take them out for half the day or
Uh-uh.
the evening or anything like that we need to coordinate, so.
Yeah,
Make-
I'm
make it
most
work.
available later in the
Later in the
day.
day?
and
Okay.
Evening, so.
All right, well, we definitely seem like we have more daytime coverage anyway,
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
Okay,
Good.
all right, that
Good.
sounds good. All right.
Last time we were there, what, 11?
Yeah.
I think you only left. for like an
Oh,
hour. Yeah.
one other thing I just want to throw out for consideration. We don't need to discuss it now, but it was brought to my attention. And quite well, there are some residents that are that have some donations that they want to bring forward at some point in time, again, for trying to fund a welcome to Alton sign. I know it was mentioned, after the warrant article went out and it was increased on the floor, that there was some people in the community that thought it should be funded through donations more so. There are some people that have started coming forward, in the tune of $2,500 to $3,000. So they're substantial. They're not just $10 here or there. But along with those conversations, there was a question asked if the board would ever consider, apparently a while ago, the welcome to Alton Bay or the train station corner sign that used to be facing Route 11 as you came in from the Guilford side across Back Bay Bridge, got relocated up onto the hillside. It sits up, a lot of us probably hadn't noticed it. I forgot it was up there, but it's up on that steep banking.
Yep.
That got put up there. The question is if the board would ever consider bringing that sign back down and putting it back where it was. Cause it, apparently the significance of that sign was the designating I guess they called it like the railroad corner.
Yes.
But that's because the railroad station's right there
That's
and
right
everything
there.
and
Yeah.
it just.
I would definitely consider putting it back where it was.
Yeah, that was a concern that several residents had raised who were already looking at wanting to support a welcome to Alton sign from this end of town, but also getting that one back in to a roadside sign and not so much presented up on the hill. If you want, I can bring that back up at a later date if you want to talk
Yeah.
about it
Yeah.
and discuss it at that point.
But I'd be in favor of that.
Good. And once I get a little more information, I will bring it back to the board about the idea of any any donations, whether the board wants to entertain or talk about a welcome to Alton sign at that point in time, or at least accepting,
Mhm.
the donations for that purpose.
Okay.
So, all right.
All right, thank
Thank you.
you. Is that- is
That's
that
all I
everything?
have.
That's all
Yes,
you
sir.
have?
Yes,
Can
sir.
I just go back to selectmen reports and one thing that I forgot to mention? I had written down here, I just want to thank everyone that was involved in the Old Home Committee and the Old Home Week. Despite we had some rain challenges at the very beginning and at the very end, it was just a very successful Old Home Week with the parade and the car show and all of the events in between. It was still successful, and I want to thank everybody for that. And the Water Bandstand Committee for the wonderful ski show that we had last weekend. It would really look nice. There was a lot of effort that went into that and taking care of the water bandstand and painting, cleaning and getting it prepared. And the ski show was a success, and the donations of the generous people for the ski show coming into the water bandstand for every year. Keep it coming, because the ski shows will only get better and better as it comes. So I want to thank the committee. And that's all I've got. So at this point, we'll have the approval of the minutes for August 13th, 2024, public session.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda approval. I make a motion to approve the consent agenda for August 27th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There are no, there is. There is a request for an appointment.
Yes. So we received this request from a gentleman who wants the board to discuss waiving and a high water bill.
Mhm.
In this particular case, the meter was sent out and tested, came back good. The
Came
meter,
back good.
but the gentleman is requesting to meet with the board.
Mhm.
At the pleasure of the board.
What's the pleasure of the board? Did you read,
Yeah.
did you read this? Of course, everybody read it. It sounds like the water was used, but it was also came back after it was tested that it was working correctly, after it was reinstalled. In their opinion, because then now there's no issue, but it's up to you guys if you want to have them,
I'll make a motion that we waive the late fees only, but require the payment of the bill. I think that this is another one of those cases that something got left on. And
They did get sent out to get tested,
yes,
Yep, there's
it
no
was
issue.
sent out to get tested. It was found, there was
and-
nothing wrong.
and those were the late fees, was us, or why it was getting tested.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay.
A motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I
I,
will convey the board's response.
Thank you. Okay, public input for anything on town business. Come on up.
Thank you, Jill Hauser, commenting on the swap shop. First, it was always my understanding that this would be a collaboration between private volunteers and the town, regardless of, I think, where it's going to be, if only for the fact that it's probably going to be a group of older, individuals who will at some point probably rely on someone else to move the heavy items into a dumpster if there's something that large, or deal with unsuitable things that are left behind if it isn't in a fenced in or, outside the fence, if it's not at the swap shop, wherever the location is. So I'm sorry that you thought that it was, that you didn't, if you haven't seen it as a collaboration. In my mind, I have been thinking of examples where the town did collaborate with volunteers successfully. I am hopeful that by the next meeting, there will be some additional information on funding sources and the language sorted through an attorney or whoever, so we understand. In my mind, solid waste is solid waste. This allows the town to remove solid waste from the waste stream, and I see it as mutually beneficial. I'm also thinking of another existing building in town that might have space. I very much think that the transfer station makes the most sense because people are coming in, they're coming out. It's a multitask thing. You drop various things in various places, and that's just kind of the mentality. And historically, it's been there and it seems to have worked, never perfectly. I understand liability is always going to be an issue. That's come up. If you are looking for an alternate site, the East Alton Fire Department building is sitting there. It's a little, 2 miles north on 28. I'm guessing there's probably bathrooms in there and it's a lockable building, but again, there's no fencing, there's nothing. I understand that you could rig a camera to watch things coming and going, but I think that you run into a personnel problem there with like, who's going to do the follow-up and is it really worth, anyway, that's a return on investment issue there. In my mind, I see questions about the all volunteer situation. I haven't thought it through the way my mind worked. I'm like, no, there's going to be a knife fight over that mid-century dinette system, that just came in because people are going to, I see things tempered if there is a town employee that's within, a call or somewhere in the perimeter just to kind of help keep things in order because, it's an uncontrolled situation in my mind. But again, I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about that. I appreciate that you've created some time to table this and get some more public input. I just want to verify if people want to put public input, there is a letter tray in Stacy's office that folks can drop off written comments.
Yep.
So anyway, I just wanted to thank you for your continuing efforts. I can see you're churning away and trying to find a solution, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I know you're Jane Bradbury. My sister's the main motivator, but anyway, when it comes to the transfer station, I think it's only transferring mainly. I would love it to be much more of a recycle center. And I think that the swap shop could be the beginning of more recycling. For example, you could take the, if it's at the transfer station, you could take those clothing bins that people throw stuff out in, bring them over there. One of the big money makers in Lee was recycling of milk cartons. I know that sounds crazy, but how many of us just crumple them up and throw them in the trash? There could be a bin there. It's just the beginning to me of what really means recycle for the town. Because even though we have recycling, I've looked into the metal recycling. It's got tires on the metal. It's got, we can't be getting huge amounts for some of that stuff because it's not done well. And we just need to think that through a little bit. The bucket truck, every time I've ever gone to dump my trash, there's a bucket truck blocking off that down section. That's a great thing. You can't have somebody with a mattress taking an exit at the, just going over any place and dumping it. It can't go through that bucket truck. So I see a problem with knowing that there's a place to bring stuff as somebody knowing where the cameras are and just throwing a mattress where they're out of camera and nobody's actually checking the camera to be doing that. I like the idea much more. And I really don't think money's a problem. If you want to do a warrant, fine. But everybody I've talked to, well, I've got $1,000. I'd be glad to give to that. And so particularly the legal part, if you can find out if that word "at" is in the thing that recycling at the transfer station, because the at's probably a big important word in that document. So that's my.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joan Blackwood again. I really appreciate you guys working at it. It's been 20 weeks since I brought it up. And I think that you're serious now. I'm so glad. I appreciate Richard Shea and all his work and Drew Carter helping him along. And all those, your ideas are great. I'm not sure they would work for two reasons. One is it is so available at any time. And you can't close it off because the seniors use it during the week. You can't, even if you put a fence up, people could leave things there. I know you say a camera. I know you say we get the license plate. Police aren't going to bother. Would they actually go after someone for leaving things for the recycle shop? I don't think so. It's just added burden for the police department, or who else would go? So it's the clutter there that caused the problem of the lawsuit. And you have clutter there that gets left because it's so convenient. Oh, they're not open. Oh, well, I'll just leave it here. They won't mind. But if it's heavy stuff and you have volunteers and they can't move it, and we can't get a transfer station person there right away, it creates a real problem. And so save money, you got it. However, I'm not a lawyer, but I have read the 30-year-old revolving fund information. And it can't be any clearer to me, even though I'm not a lawyer, because it says that the powers and duties of towns with this revolving fund used for one of the following purposes. The first purpose, guess what it is? Facilitating, maintaining, or encouraging recycling. You know, that's the first thing that they say that that fund is to be used for. And then 20 years ago, the warrant that came out, it's Article 18 in 2005, voted to establish a capital reserve fund for, first thing, building and site improvements at the transfer station. If a lawyer reads that, I don't see why we can't get money to do the best, the best swap shop around, with a transfer person that can help if need be, with volunteers that are, I've got people, that have notified me, I'm there, I'll be there, I'll do a book section for kids, I'll do this, I'll give $1,000 to insulate it. We want this, it's going to work, and we'll have the money for it. I'm so glad you're going to have a lawyer look through that stuff. There's plenty of money in that fund. What are we afraid of? We're not going to spend it. Some people like to save it, and we've saved it and saved it and saved it. Guess what? There's some money there to use for recycling, and that's the first purpose of both the revolving fund and for the capital, I don't know what facilitate, wait a minute. Anyway, it's the warrant article. We don't need a warrant article. We've had one and we've approved it. So, please look into that. The money is there. I'm not for spending any money that we don't have to, but we can make the best and safest. And the thing is, you can shut that thing down 3 days a week at the transfer station where no one can get in, that gate goes across. You can shut it down at the top of the hill that leads to where people would drop stuff, and people see them dropping it right there. Nope, you're not allowed to do that. Because when it's open, there are people going by, and guess what? These are people that wanted the swap shop. They care. They've worked for it. They've commented to you guys. And so we would be careful, far more careful that no one goes down that road with stuff that shouldn't go there when it's not open. So you don't get the clutter. Another problem might be people waiting around to take all the best stuff. That will happen at the senior center. Because you can't get rid of them. They're right there in a parking lot next to, and this is a main problem at swap shops. People just standing around, waiting for the best stuff, taking it, using it for themselves. This is for the town, all of the town. And we need to be able to stop it. You can do that at the transfer station.
Thank you.
You cannot do that at the senior center. But if we go for the senior center, I'm fine.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Bonnie Dodge.
Evening.
So the first thing I wanted to say to address something is, when you implied that I'm closed-minded, I don't think that was appropriate. I have my opinions, I'm
Mhm.
entitled to them. And I'll wait.
Okay.
Okay, you're not gonna, okay, just wondering, okay. And I'm not here to dispute or to win. I'm here to just get the swap shop going. I don't know if any of you ever went to the swap shop when it was here. On a Saturday morning, people patiently waited to get a parking spot. Parents could say to their kids, you want some books? Sure. You want to go to anything you want. Parents who don't have money, who are at the swap shop because they have needs, and they can tell their kids, anything you want, that's golden. That's important. We are such a throwaway society that it's easier to just dump it at the dump. And I'm going to tell you, if you have it at the senior center, they're going to throw it at the dump because the senior center is an extra trip. And you're going to say, no, we can't take that here. Well, they're not coming back again because you just refused something and it's too much of a hassle. As far as a picnic table, not needed. People at the swap shop, they're doing their shopping and they're chatting. It's amazing. I can't really tell you what it's like unless you were to experience it. And if you put a sign at the senior center, the people who would see it are the elderly people who go into the swap shop. Many of them can't even walk. I'm not saying all, but a good portion of them. So I don't know how that would work. I'm just stating that. So that whole thing with the swap shop, adding to landfills because there's no swap shop and that's too much of a hassle and too expensive, it's gotta matter. The items that have been thrown in that dumps at the landfill in the years that we haven't had the swap shop, thousands, because there's no place else to put them. And to watch people, like I said, at the swap shop, bringing stuff, getting stuff, and that person, it's fun there, but that person who needs a dresser for their kid and they find it there for nothing, you can't know unless you've been in that place. I just think it's important. Also, at the senior center, there's a camera. You don't think people are gonna go, well, let's see. Oh, I'll just put it out here by the road. They can't see my license plate there. I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that's the reality of it. Because the people, I volunteered at the swap shop. A man comes, he drops his TV. I say, sorry, you can't put this here. He goes, yes, I can. Other people do it. Now, who I am now, that would not fly. I'm just telling you. The other thing is to hear you say that, oh, the hassle for the people that are employed at the landfill. I used to go when there were no volunteers there. I never saw an employee over at the swap shop. Cleaning up, yes. but not working there. And when I would go in to ask someone, I forget who it was that was running it, and they would just piss and moan about the swap shop. We can't stand that. It's a hassle. There was nobody devoted to the swap shop there. They did not care. I'm just saying. Hold on just a second. And here's the thing too, like somebody was saying, if there's a fence, no one can leave that in the fenced-in area. It's gonna be much more obvious to everyone there that somebody's dumping something they shouldn't. And if there's a camera, that's a perfect spot for it. And I would say, go after those people. That's not right. Hold on. Just checking. Oh, the other thing is, it's just a point that, sorry, if somebody is at the senior center, a volunteer, alone, and someone comes that they don't feel safe around, not that I'm saying that's gonna happen, but at the landfill, it's safer. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thank you for your support.
Hey, gentlemen, Kelly Sullivan. I have a couple of questions. One was about the budget committee. I thought they were like, how do we end up losing a chair and a vice chair in the same year?
They moved out of town.
I thought though, don't we have terms set up or like, is
No,
it
they
not a
moved out,
term that's?
they moved out of town.
Oh,
They moved out of
I'm
state.
sorry, I thought you meant.
Oh,
the-
yeah, yeah. No, no,
Okay,
no, they
okay,
moved out of
thank you.
town.
Thank you, because I was just wondering how that,
One term went up, the other one moved.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to thank you for approving and just listening to the Friends of Parks and Rec. That was why I was here tonight. I am part of the Parks and Rec Commission and part of the Parks and Friends of Committee. We do have a very dedicated group with some good momentum going, so it's nice to get that positive feedback from the board. So we appreciate that. Thank you. I will comment to the swap shop. I appreciate that it's still being discussed. Full transparency. My guys don't want the swap shop at the transfer station either. They don't particularly care for it. I don't go to the transfer station very often because my guys do that. I'm completely spoiled. But I do not understand why, like for me, I think as most people, we think, and the people that I have spoken to, kind of think it's like all one and the same. You go to the transfer station, you can go to the swap shop. Liability is liability. So whether we have the transfer station at the transfer station or at the community center up on Pearson Road, it's on town property, which means the town would be liable wherever that is. I appreciate the thought of putting in a different location. I understand that it's probably not hugely wanted at the transfer station for multiple reasons. The guys that work there, you know, people coming and going. I do feel though that with the discussion we've had, the placement would be better. It would cut back on the issues that we had in the past. Speaking of in the past, it kind of befuddles me a little bit to understand why it's so difficult to get something back that we had for so long. I just don't understand that. We had it for a number of years. It closed because of, why it closed because of COVID and it just never came back. And we do have volunteers that will do it and that's wonderful. But like Jill had stated previously, all of the committees that I run on, that I sit on, that I'm part of, we're all about collaboration. We're about friends of working with the commission, working with AYL, working with the town. We're about collaboration because what the town is a community. So it was not, I don't think in our minds, at least anybody that I spoke to was like, the town employees are going to take care of that. That was never the case. It was more just the town working with the townspeople to to get this to work. So again, it's something we had it for a number of years. We lost it because of COVID, like we did so many other things. And again, I think I'm a little disappointed that we have to push so hard to get it back. But I do appreciate the discussion and that you are still maintaining it. I appreciate everybody's input and really work through to do their homework on it and try to get it to go through, and just, again, the open discussion. I would say about the senior center, we have, so as friends of, and we're fundraising, or even just, a lot of people talk about the clothing bins. And somebody had said, well, we could probably put one, at the senior center would be a good place. And we literally had 20-minute conversation about if we did that, people coming at any time and just dropping stuff off. And I kind of feel that might be a way to quickly circumvent, like you get the swap shop, but then I feel that may be a problem. And then does it go away? Would it actually go to the transfer station after that if it didn't work at that first location? Like, these are all things that we would have to discuss in the future, as long as we keep having those discussions. But that, was stated, but is that, would that happen? Like, would it be like, hey, we can try this, we're going to try this for you, but if it doesn't work, you're going to try this for us? Like, would that actually come to fruition? But a big thing for most of us was the fact that it would be unattended for so long because it's the senior center and nobody is there. So that was a huge thing for us. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other public input?
Evening.
Good evening.
I'm Donna Richardson, and I'd like to address several different things this evening. First one, Ryan, your concern about the water line and in-kind with the state. Having had a long conversation with Mr. Smith because the culvert immediately abuts my family property. His approach on that thus far has been in-kind was established when the repair was done, because in-kind refers to the repairs, not replacement of. He may have expressed it differently to you. That's how he expressed it to me, just as another point of view. I don't know factually one way or the other how it falls. It's just how he approached it with me. First comment. Second comment, Mr. Shea, you presented a lot of information and a lot of numbers 2 meetings ago with respect to costs. One item that I didn't hear that I brought up at that time was, what's the differential cost we have paid since COVID in removing debris from our town? Has anybody come to that number yet? Okay.
I certainly haven't. I'm not
That-
too sure how I.
That's fine. Then I respectfully ask that we have Mr. Garland, our new DPW director, give us some information about the differential cost on what we were paying to remove from the town when we had a swap shop previously and what we've paid since. I would also ask in that conversation that we get a number on how many of the 2-year passes we sell in the community. I routinely buy several, whether I need them or not. Nobody has ever checked them. So this idea that we're going to have some kind of pass when we're down at the senior center really defies logic to me. My third concern is this conversation about it going to a warrant article so that we can see if all of the town people want it. I don't recall there being a warrant article when we changed the hours of operation at town hall. And I can guarantee you not all of the town people like it, even though it's already been a year in its change. My final comment, and I apologize up front because I do believe there has been, in the 20+ weeks, there has been a tremendous amount of collaboration. And I appreciate that as a town resident. Where I am concerned, though, is we have, in essence, Robert's rules that we follow when we have these BOS meetings. And last meeting, the swap shop was not on the agenda. And that may or may not have had people come if they were interested in it. Yet this concept of the alternative site for the swap shop came up unannounced. That's a little disconcerting. It's disconcerting to the extent that if we want to see new and different faces, then we have to let people know what we're doing. We have to be a little bit more transparent about what we're going to discuss and when we're going to discuss it. Certainly under the concept of new business, things will come up that people aren't aware of. That's okay, that's new business. But when it's old business, it should be right there on the agenda for everyone to see and to hear. My very last comment, and Paul, I apologize, I'm going to single you out on this one. If someone had made a comment to this board about being rude or predisposed or something, you'd have them removed from the meeting. And I'm going to ask you personally to issue an apology during the course of this meeting for that comment, because it is recorded for the public and we don't want to dissuade people from coming, whether they're the same people every time or they're different people every time. It's hugely important that if we want to foster collaboration, that people feel that they can come.
I definitely encourage anybody to come. I don't see the need for an apology. I was sitting here, and I'm only gonna say this once. I was looking at a person in the audience that was sitting in here continuously shaking their head no. And I just simply said, don't be closed-minded. I don't need to apologize for that.
So when we see board members shaking their head no to something, should we be able to respond that way without being removed from the meeting?
I don't think we very often, really don't know, and I don't look all the way down the board to see who's shaking their head no and anything. It's just, I made a comment. And the comment was, I thought, not rude. I was just simply saying, don't be closed-minded. And that's not saying something derogatory.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I realize I'm over my limit and I'm going to throw one last thing out. Would you, as a general statement, be a little less opposed to the concept of a swap shop if the cost of the building could be defrayed? In other words, if the many people who do want it were to create a Friends of the Swap Shop group and do some fundraising, would there be a little bit more, a little bit less resistance from this board if we could potentially get to a 50-50 match or a 60-40? I'm just trying to get a sense on.
I think,
Time is
Mr.
up.
Chairman,
I'd be-
as a point of order, I don't believe that there's supposed to be
No, there isn't supposed to be dialogue.
the
No.
intercommunication.
And that
here.
time is up, and
Fair enough.
we really appreciate your input. Thank you. very-
gentlemen.
Thank you.
I appreciate the
Thank you.
cooperation.
Any other public input? One real quick question, having my experience working with our folks with the Friends of Parks and Rec. Where does Primex come in the picture here? Have they helped give some guidance to whether this is something that's feasible? I'm new to the town. I thought I'd heard that there was some type of issue, not COVID related, but there was something, an injury or something that occurred at one time, and that was an issue for continuing it. But if we're looking at, and we saw a report from Primex about the playground, wouldn't they be able to give some support to this effort so that folks would know where the right place would be, whether there'd be any issues with safety, parking lot, things like that? I was just wondering whether that was, or maybe how often you consider bringing Primex into issues that are related to the town's, issues and concerns that could cost the town money through lawsuits, et cetera.
They have issued a report.
Excuse me?
They issued a report and came
Okay.
out to a site walk.
Okay.
Primex did.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any, no, thank you, I appreciate that. Any other input? Seeing none, I'll close it to public input. And I make a motion to enter into non-public meeting per RSA 91-A:3, 2, under A and L. I'll do poll the board. Drew?
I need a second.
Yes.
I need a second. Oh, thanks, Nick. Sorry.